Bolivia embraces 36 different ethnic groups, each with its own vision and spirit. A land of contrasts, in which images from the past and present are intertwined through age-old traditions. A land of extraordinary beauty that one senses in the voices of the people, in their music and in their culture. Bolivia's incredible geographical diversity and its cultural authenticity make it one of the few, maybe even one of the last countries in the world where visitors can live and share in one single destination emotions which last forever. With a modern infrastructure that meets the needs and demands of any guest, the visitor can return to the past with all the comforts of the present. This magical adventure begins in La Paz, a city nestling between mountains that seem to caress the sky with the snow-covered peaks of the majestic Illimani. A fascinating city, as capricious as its topography and full of contrasts. A cultural meeting point, concealing at every corner and in every street a hidden treasure waiting to be discovered. Magical spaces, infused with mysticism and tradition, like the Witches' Street, Moon Valley, assorted colourful markets, and striking places such as the Calle Jaén, testimony to the Spanish presence in America. Museums that speak of a glorious and epic past, of traditions and symbiosis, are part of the many attractions of the most picturesque city in the world. Emerging from crystalline waters, Titicaca is the life source of the Andean cultures. The flight of the seagull, the rhythmic rowing of the Totora raft, and perhaps nearby the Pututu's melancholy whistle enhance the serenity of Lake Titicaca. The sacred lake of the Incas is a promise for the future and a harvest for those who explore its waters and mysterious treasures. To arrive at this spectacular destination is to transport oneself into a wonderful world of living cultures. The traveler can get there from Cusco and Puno in Peru, or from the city of La Paz in Bolivia. Passing along picturesque villages such as Pomata and Juli, travelers from Puno will arrive at the shrine of Copacabana to visit the Dark Virgin at the local cathedral and the Indian street market. After visiting the local church, you will board a modern and panoramic hydrofoil. And this is the start of an unforgettable intercultural experience where you can verify the authenticity of the Andean roots. Bolivia, a country where culture remains intact and the legacy of its ancestors is stored. A country where its men and women respect nature, not competing with it, even less damaging it. This adventure can also take in a visit to Copacabana before starting the cruise on modern hydrofoils. First stop on this cruise is Moon Island, where one can still breathe the same air as the native virgins of the sun. Beautiful maidens selected by the gods to keep alive the eternal flame of the Incas in the Inyak Uyu Temple, the largest on Titicaca. Sun Island is our next stop. It is here that the sun god sent his children, Manco Capac and Mama Ocllo, to found the Inca Empire. A mystical place where time seems to have stood still in one overwhelming moment, where silence is forever. Where we immerse ourselves in the immensity of this blue mirror, conveying us to another world, so fascinating as the countless colors of its earth and sky that melt into the infinity of the landscape. One can feel the island's magic when drinking its sacred waters, infinite sources of youth, happiness, and wisdom. Backed by the magical setting of the Andes mountain range, one can also enjoy delicious Andean dishes, prepared and served by native hands in our panoramic and archaeological restaurant, Umocollo, which encloses in its interior an authentic Inca or Tacana terrace. A lively local market is the charming companion to this spectacular setting. However, Sun Island lures many travelers who decide to stay the night in La Posada del Inca, an ancient manor house, an irresistible invitation to wake up to the most impressive dawn in the world. Here one can live other unforgettable experiences, such as walking along Inca paths together with these haughty animals that will carry your baggage up to the Posada del Inca, situated at the top of this mystical island. It is also an opportunity to go back in time by visiting the well-conserved ruins of Pilcocaina. The Posada del Inca Inn rises up majestically amidst pastoral landscapes. With excellent service, the hospitable manor house, fed by solar power, offers anyone who visits 20 well-equipped, comfortable rooms with electric blankets. Once again at the waters of the sacred lake, it's time to honor an ancestral custom. Bless its visitors with the water from the sacred fountain of the Incas. Meanwhile, one can enjoy a typical Bolivian drink. After crossing the narrow Strait of Tiquina, we may provide on request the floating islands of the Urus Iruitos, which are always included in the cruises going north. From this age-old ethnic group, only 32 families have survived, still speaking Puquina, the mother tongue of the Aymaras and the Incas. Some of these families have returned to their natural habitat, building their Totora islands and huts, rocked by the waters of the lake, as we are welcomed by the smiles of the children. These people are unique, and with the aim of preserving their way of life and 5,000-year-old culture, Trillion Tours has created a sustainable tourism project in the Kewaya community, erecting greenhouses especially designed for the place. The non-transgenic products cultivated by this race are used in the varied menu offered by our two hotels. It's an unforgettable encounter with this culture that has survived time and space on Titicaca's waters. After a beautiful cruise, the Inca Utama Hotel and Spa awaits us on one of the shores of the sacred lake at Watahata. This hotel, the only one of its kind, is characterized by a distinct concept of hotel design, where comfort blends harmoniously with intercultural experiences. Surrounded by original, illustrative spaces in which we can immerse ourselves in the past, we find museums like the Altiplano that takes us back to colonial times. There we can also appreciate Inca jewelry and art from the oldest city in the Andes, Tiwanaku. The breeze from the lake and the smell of moist earth helps us to understand better the daily life of the Eco Pueblo Andino, to be found within the bounds of the hotel, while an indigenous woman spins alpaca wool under the watchful eye of these graceful animals. Enjoy the varied facets of the artisan's everyday life, crafting ceramics, masks, sandals, and the famous cholita hats worn by the Aymara women. The Puya Raimondi cactus reaches a height of over 20 meters and flowers only once every 120 years, is part of this hotel complex, which also includes a children's playground with ancestral Andean toys. And to shake hands with living history, a special meeting with the Limachi brothers, builders of the most famous Totora rafts, Ra-2 and Tigris, built for Thor Heyerdahl's epic expeditions, as well as the Abora-2, the first 21st century Totora reed boat crossing the Mediterranean Sea, where Fermin Limachi was part of the crew. Following these visits, you could continue on to La Paz or stay overnight at the Inca Utama Hotel and Spa. In that event, as the sun goes down, we enter into a magical ambience where, by the heat of the fire, a wise Kalyawaya, a healer that relieves the pains of body and soul, will look into the future using sacred coca leaves. By candlelight, it is time to join a romantic dinner in the Sumac Untabi restaurant, where one can enjoy our national and international cuisine to the sounds and dances of Bolivian folk music. A little later, A fascinating encounter with the universe at the Alakpacha Native Observatory and our modern telescope, a communion with the ancestral wisdom of the infinite cosmos. The Musinha Bar, or the Choza Nautica, are the golden jewels to complete a day on Lake Titicaca. The following day, one can choose to take a cruise from Watahata to Kalauta Island, the lake's largest graveyard with cemetery towers of 2 or 3 levels. Waiting for us there is an aptapi, a native picnic that we share with the local people. At the end of the afternoon or the following day, we can carry on to La Paz. Before arriving in La Paz, we discover Tiwanaku, a citadel of colossal structures and cradle of American civilizations 1500 years before Christ, an almost perfect model of social, political and economic organization. One of its majestic masterpieces is the Kalyasasaya Temple, inside of which one can find important exhibits of sculpture like the Sun Gate, a real astronomical calendar. The Lithic Museum, whose sentinel is the imposing monolith Bennett, is without doubt one of the examples of this glorious past. From La Paz, one can travel to Los Yungas, a journey from the high snow peaks of the Andes to the Amazonian forest in just 1 hour. One can pass through a variety of scenery and climates, as if undertaking a journey between Norwegian fjords and tropical Africa. Experience spectacular landscapes such as waterfalls and extensive coffee, coca and banana plantations, or the mischievous gaze of the Yungueños, some of them a mix of Aymara and Afro-Bolivian. Bolivia's diversity and treasures extend much further than the horizon, opening up a variety of possibilities which will respond to the most varied objectives. Different travel options, by air or by land, together with an infrastructure that awaits you at any moment. Visit Bolivia. For you it will mean an accumulation of unforgettable experiences and memories. A short flight from La Paz will transport you to the colonial ambience of Sucre, Bolivia's romantic constitutional capital, where time seems to have stood still since the 17th century. Sucre is one of the cities with the best conserved architecture in America, with cobbled streets, fountains carved in granite, ancient churches, houses roofed with baked clay tiles and white walls sprinkled with chalk, characteristics of the colonial design. Sucre holds the flavor of history and liberty, the presence of art and culture. It is no accident that UNESCO has declared Sucre Heritage of Mankind, jealously guarding a glorious past. About 1.5 hours from Sucre, one can visit the amazing Sunday fair at Tarabuco, where some locals still use a barter system in place of money. The Tarabuqueños wear leather hats, shaped exactly like the helmets worn by the Spanish conquerors. The symbols used in their fabulous weavings recount their history and their traditions. Some kilometers from Sucre lies Potosí, a city that in the middle of the 17th century grew to be the second largest city in the American continent, and the main source of silver and mineral resources for Spain and Europe. Today, the Cerro Rico mine still produces the precious metal, as well as the lasting traditions such as those in the mine galleries where the Tio still lives, great master of the underground, still revered by the miners. The Casa de la Moneda, built in 1773, is perfectly preserved, and it was here that the silver coins were minted for the kings of Spain. This still living history resulted in the United Nations proclaiming the city of Potosí as a cultural heritage of mankind. From Potosí, one can visit the Salar de Uyuni, a white plain stretching as far as one can see, which possesses the world's greatest concentration of salt, a landscape of singular and strange beauty, where the silence makes the heart beat faster. Cover fascinating places such as the Isla Pescado, and the gigantic cacti that grow out of the salt lakes, the flamingos, the colored lakes, and the surreal crystallized pentagons are a true feast for our eyes. The Uyuni salt flats are without any doubt a destination that must be visited at least once in your lifetime. Crillon Tours, as part of our own operation, takes you to the fabulous Salar de Uyuni with extensions to the Atacama Desert in the north of Chile, passing by awe-inspiring volcanoes, the Laguna Verde, and especially the Laguna Roja, natural habitat for thousands of beautiful flamingos. The other face of Bolivia, the so-called green destination, whether from La Paz or Sucre, you can fly to tropical Santa Cruz. Founded in 1561, it has preserved its former charm side by side with vigorous modern areas. Santa Cruz is the door to the mysterious ruins of Samaipata, a rocky tower with enormous figures carved into it, rising out of the wild vegetation. These ruins have inspired the science fiction books of Eric van Deniken. The Jesuit missions are still intact and alive. At the end of the 17th century, Spain allotted a large amount of land to the Jesuit order, on which several missions were established, with the aim of converting the forest-dwelling Guarani tribe to Christianity. These beautiful, perfectly conserved places are witness to the past which still pervades their magnificent buildings, their music, and their people. Frankly, Bolivia is privileged, as it now possesses 17 national parks and 29 protected areas, offering an enormous variety from the majestic Andean mountains to the exuberant Amazon. In the Madidi National Park, the International Ecological Society constructed a native village run by a well-trained local community, thereby ensuring every facility for the tourists. The volcanoes and the Noel Kempff Mercado National Park also offer hostelries, and of course, fabulous experiences within the wild setting of virgin nature. The Altiplano also is host to a number of national parks, in which one can observe the fantastic Andean flora and fauna. In addition, Crillon Tours Adventure Department operates a variety of nature and ecological programs. To visit Bolivia is an unforgettable experience. When you recall the scenery and the warmth of the people, when the deep blue waters of Lake Titicaca come to mind, where time and space stand still, maybe then, once again you will hear, almost fading away, the distant sound of a patutu, infusing us from far away with the fascinating and powerful spirit of the Andes.